Well, I'm back, and I hope this works. I've tried several recordings since Friday. I apologize. I had to reboot my computer last week and am just struggling with reconnecting everything. So hopefully I'm back. This is my art talk on a split primary palette. It's also referred to as a double primary palette, and it's very simple. It is limiting your palette to just 6 colors, and you would have 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues. And this is my 6-color palette that I use. I like the M-grams right now, but there's lots of different color choices, and if you do search for this, you'll see that artists pick and choose some different options. But what's important is that you're picking one primary that is cool, and primaries are your yellow, red, and blue. And then you also have another primary of red, yellow, and blue that is warm base. So real quickly, if you look at the 2 yellows, one looks more lemon, one looks more golden. In the reds, one is more blue, leans towards blue, so we call it a blue red. And then you have a warmer red that looks more orangey red to me. And then your blues, one is definitely have more blue in it versus the other one that has more blue in it. Even though they're both blues, it's hard to see. So that's one of the things I share. I think we just got interrupted. That's one of the things I share in my watercolor with only 6 tubes class is, how do you build a whole array of colors, starting with your primaries. And sometimes we know that when we mix our primaries together, obviously we get our secondaries, which are always our greens, oranges, and purples. But sometimes you may not get the green, purple, or orange that you're looking for, and it may have to do with the biases in the tubes of paint that you picked. So what happens is sometimes you'll get a very dull color, always used in painting. But for example, if you look at the greens here, one is a bright green and one is an olive green. So you have to make sure you have the right tubes of paint to get those colors, and then you can get something a little less bright and a little less dull by mixing those colors. The same with the oranges and even the violets or purples. When you mix a warm red with a warm blue or a cool blue, you can get a really dull purple. So it's very important. So today I thought I would share the cool colors with you. And I'm just going to move these things aside so I have some room to paint a little bit. And here's my watercolor block paper. And I've done several of these because I've made a couple videos. But what I want you to pay attention to is the colors that these mixes actually will make. Okay, so I've got all 3 of my cool colors kind of put on my palette. So I'm just going to take some cool yellow, which is more lemony. My blue red is my cool red, and then of course my cool blue. So they're all the clues. Next time I'm going to talk about the warms, and then hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit about what I teach in my classes with how you get to mix them. But it's a really wonderful system. I learned it from another artist, and there was no turning back. It will really help you understand how you're mixing and painting with your colors. So when I begin just to paint this really loose painting, I'm going to pre-wet my watercolor paper, and this is 140 pound. I'm starting to use the Winsor Newton, and you can see I have a dirty brush, so if you can see how it's still full of paint. And I'm just gonna, I have like a little brush cleaner on the bottom of one of my containers, so that really, because the bias of that could really affect at one point what you're painting. So make sure your brush is definitely clean. So I'm just dropping water down. Just kind of in the area where I think I want to paint. So watercolorists always hold the white of the paper if they want to keep some lights, and then they build up to darks. Just looking for a quick reference, if I can find it. Yes, it's not here. Okay. So if I wanted to, let's say, put some holes in this paper, I would definitely paint around it. So I'm going to start with my yellow because I'm going to be making a green tree. And I'm going to just very lightly kind of dab where I, just to kind of start implying the outer shape of this tree. That kind of gives me some shape. It's not, a tight painting. And I often in my palette will first begin to activate my paints. And you saw that I squeeze out some of the tube into these big pan areas. And of course they dry and harden. And then I spray them a couple of times with a small spray bottle. And then I bring the paint to the palette and thin it out there. Okay, so while it's wet, I'm just gonna, because I'm talking, it will dry. So if it's kind of a green tree, what happens when I drop in my cool blue? So I want you to pay attention to the green, because it's not an olive or a warm color green. It's a cool green, and it is usually a bright kind of green. There we go. And when I add more yellow to it, it will actually turn into a lighter green. But all of them are a cool green, basically, because I'm using my cool blue and cool green. So we'll kind of play with it. I'm starting to fuss too much, and I really didn't want to do that today. Okay, so what happens now, if I want it darker, I'd probably let it dry a little bit. It's very puddly, but I would just drop in more of, my cool green. And what's fun about a wet on wet, which most people are drawn to, is that it just kind of drops in and does its own thing. I like a combination of things. So I'm mixing my red, my cool red and cool blue together, and it kind of gives me, I it's kind of like a grayed out color. A lot of times they call it Payne's gray. Now, if I wanted it, more brown, then I would mix my red and yellow together a little bit. But let's just drop in a little yellow, and you can see how it changes. So right now it seems like my paper is a little warped, and it seems to be puddling here. So I'm just going to tilt it and let it just kind of maneuver in there. But I didn't want it to. So it always does some fun things. And it seems like my video is on a little bit of a delayed, and let's see if we can flip the screen. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I lost connection there. Let's see if we can then back to the screen a second. There we go. I just want you to be able to see the video, so I'm kind of shifting it over a little bit. It was upside down, and I apologize for that. So I'm just pulling the puddling down a little bit. And I know that if I add red to the green, which they're complements of each other, it will give me kind of a more grayed area. If there's more blue in it, it might go into a violet or a purple shade. Just move that along. And let's drop in maybe some yellow too. And it kind of gives me some raw sienna in there. But already what I'm trying to show you is all the colors that could just be made out of, these couple. And I really like this brush that was recommended. It is a silver black velvet brush, and what I really am enjoying about it is I always talk about a good point, and when you roll your brush you have a good point, but I also like that I can press it down and it flares out for blending, so you don't necessarily need it's really pulling. You don't necessarily need a sable brush. And for those of you who paint with me, traditional sumi painting, it kind of has the feel a bit of it, but I haven't really practiced it, and I like the thickness of it. But you have to play and know which brushes work for you. So I'm going to put a little bit of water down here. And I got some nice green, and I'm going to pop in that red. And then put in some blue, which will give me some, we talked about some violets. And it's just so playful that way. So I'm still I put so much water. This brush really does hold a lot of water, a little bit more than I'm used to. So here we go. So now I'm just letting it drag and pull. I'm not as excited about it. I did this one on an earlier attempt video, and let's see if you can see them side by side. Just waiting for it to catch up. So you can see it has some pretty blues. When it was happening, I didn't like it, so it's funny because now I'm really enjoying that contrast of colors. So hopefully you'll have fun. So my suggestion is that you pick out 3 primaries. If you're not sure about cool and warm colors, pick out 3 colors that you may have, like yellow, red, and blue, and just limit your palette and try and paint a tree or anything just with those colors, but watch and see what colors you make and note if they're bright or dull colors. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that this video can finally post. You'll be able to find it on my Facebook page, Elaine M. Bergstrom, an Artist Perspective, or on YouTube. And if you do like it, please do like it and, follow me and share these videos with friends or family that may be interested in painting along with me, or watching and learning. That's always fun as well. So until next time, have fun painting, and I'll see you at the next Art Talk. Thanks.